Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today we're going to be doing something, it seems like I'm always doing something a little different. Well, today's little different is instead of working on an old beat up reel, I'm actually working on a brand spanking new reel. And I say brand spanking new because it's never been out of the box. However, this is an original Penn Pursuit, still sealed up in the case. If you look real careful, right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the video, but I bought this thing on sale at Walmart back in 2014, and it's been sitting in the package hanging on my board the whole time. Well, I've decided I want to fish it tomorrow, and since it's been sitting for so long, I've decided this would be a really good time to go ahead and cut this package open, go through it, and get it all lined up, get some new line on it, and I'm going to take it fishing tomorrow. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this box open. Now some of you may think, well, it's brand new in the box, it should be okay, right? Well, no, that's not necessarily so. It may be okay, but it's been sitting in my hot garage for what, 8 years? And oh, that is a very sweet reel. I like that a lot. Let's see here. What's this going to take? Is this just a twist it in? Let's see. What's it take? It just goes in and binds it in. All right, let's see if we can get this going. I am going to take it right back out again, but let's see if I can get it to start. There she goes. All right, let's zoom out. I'm thinking there's a really good possibility that I don't have any need to go into this, but because this is Young Martin's Reels, and because that's the kind of thing we do, we're going to take this opportunity to go in, take a look at how this Penn Pursuit is made. And even though this thing was 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, it was still a made in China reel, but it is seems to be very well made. So we're going to start off by taking off the spool. There we go. Okay. And it looks like we got fairly fresh. No, look at that. That grease is all dried up right there. Okay. So that's why we need to take it apart. That grease, it's been sitting in the hot garage for 8 years, and it's all, it has a little bit of greasiness to it, but it's hard. It's not coming off with my finger. All right. So that's why we're going into this reel. Let's see if it will just wipe off. Not really. I'm going to have to scrub that. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to taking the handle back off, even though we just put it on. Okay. Boy, it is awful nice now not to have to do a whole lot of scrubbing on a reel. All right. We're going to go ahead and take off the side cover now. Oh, as per someone's request the other day, one thing, no, that's not the gear ratio. It's a 4-to-1 though. It's a 4 stainless steel bearings plus, so there we go, 4.6-to-1. So if you're interested, it's a 4.6-to-1 gear ratio. If you're gonna reach into this side cover, be gentle when you do, because there's threads in here and you don't want to tear those up. All right, there's our number 1 bearing with our shim. Okay, we've got a shim right there. We're going to make sure that that goes back where it belongs. And this bearing, let's make sure that it's going to turn adequately. And it does. So we're going to go ahead and oil that bearing. It's a shielded bearing, but it's not a sealed bearing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put some oil on that. Let it sit and soak in there for a little bit. Set that over to the side. And I don't think this main gear is going to come out yet. We're going to have to rotate it around until... Oh, this is one of the things about this reel. This Penn Pursuit does not have an anti-reverse override. So if you manage somehow to get this thing jammed, it's going to be difficult to get it apart because this reel cannot back up. There is no override for that. And I always wondered, why would they not put one on it? I saw today there are some people out there, their thought process on why you would not want an override on it is it gives you one less opening in the case for salt water and sand to be able to get into. So there's a thought. Okay, let's take the first crosswind block screw out. I'm going to take the second crosswind block screw out. And now we should be able to slide the axle shaft out. And we are able to. Okay, now we should be able to take this gear out. And let's see how gummed up this grease really is. Now the grease inside here isn't too bad. That's still fairly soft and pliable. So we're going to clean that up. Put some more Penn grease back in there in its place. But that looks really nice in there. Okay, we're going to take out the crosswind block. Okay, this time the crosswind gear came out with the block. Okay, we'll set both of them over there. We're going to need to clean them. I don't think they're going to need much inspection. As I said, this is a brand new reel. Okay, everything in there looks good, except it needs to be cleaned out a little bit. We've got another bearing down in here. So we've now seen 2 of the 4 bearings that are in this reel. And we'll go ahead and oil this bearing as well and make sure it turns freely, which it does. Next thing we're going to do is take off this rotor by taking out this screw. And then we'll take off this retainer or locking plate. There we go. And this will require a socket or a wrench. I have a wrench up here that may be the right size for that. Let's see. Okay, 14 millimeters seems to be it. It is. All right. Go ahead and unscrew that. And we should be able to pull this off. Make sure there's no shim. Okay, now there's something right there. This sleeve right here. This goes inside the pinion sleeve right here where the axle shaft goes in. Don't lose that. It's pretty important. We'll leave it in there like so. It managed to pop out when we took that off. All right, now we're going to take these 3 screws out that are holding in the bearing and the anti-reverse bearing. That's the +1 that it talks about on the side of the spool, is the anti-reverse bearing. Take this plate off. I'll set it over here along with these 3 screws. And now this should come right out, and it does. Okay. The grease on the pinion looks a little old. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what we have here. We have a sleeve. Let's double check. We do not have a washer on the bottom there. So we have this fitting sleeve right here. It fits on top. Next we have the bearing. Okay, this is just a regular bearing. If we look at it, it will turn either direction. But it should be inside a housing, which I believe it is. Yep. And it comes out like so. Okay, see that fits in there. There's a ring down here that retains the bearing. That slips in just like that. We can go ahead and leave that in there, and we'll oil that up as well. Now this guy is our anti-reverse, and it will turn one direction and one direction only. Now look at the direction that it turns before you go taking it off so that you can... Okay, sorry for the interruption there. I had a phone call that come in. That's what happens when you're recording using your phone. All right, so we're down to this point. We've got our anti-reverse gear, and you want to make sure, or sorry, bearing, and you want to make sure which way it rotates, because you got to put it back the same way that it rotates. Otherwise, you'll have it upside down and it won't function properly. Okay, we're going to slide that off, and see it's got a bearing inside. And see, inside, you see all those loose bearings? You don't want to get those loose in there. All right. It is interesting, though. I've always been told that these bearings are supposed to come dry, that you don't want them to be dry or lubricated. But these are pretty well greased inside. So I'm going to grease it again when I put it back. Okay, and this sleeve, okay, we've got that guy. I'm going to leave that off until the end. Okay, we got this sleeve, and then we've got this bearing. Now that bearing didn't want to come off. It probably the grease on the shaft was getting a bit much. And I'm going to put some more oil in each of these bearings. They should all be well oiled. Okay. Now that brings us down to, by the way, while I was on the phone, I cleaned up a lot of these parts. So let me scrub this up real quick. This is the last of what I had to clean. Okay, there's our pinion gear. That's awful sweet looking, isn't it? That thing is like, well, it is brand new. Can't say like brand new. It is brand new, never been used. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and slide on the bearing, the first one. Okay, then we're gonna slide on this sleeve. And even though they tell you not to, I'm going to gently lubricate this, because I can see that there's plenty of grease down inside this. So we're going to put this back on now. There we go. I think I just put it on upside down. Stand by. I did. Something like that. There we go. Okay. There's the direction. All right. Then this bearing goes back on. Just like that. And this sleeve goes on over top of it like so. And then this entire assembly is going to fit down inside here. However, before we do that, we're going to go ahead, put some grease on the pinion gear. I am excited to fish this reel tomorrow. Okay, we're going to slip this back in, like so. Okay. This bearing retainer goes back in like so. And we're going to put the 3 screws back in. Okay. Next item going in is going to be the crosswind block. Crosswind gear. We're going to lubricate it on the back side. Set it back down in there like so. Then we're going to lubricate the front side. And the teeth. Okay, we're going to move this post to the rear, and we're getting our crosswind block ready to go in. This is a nice, very heavy crosswind block. I like it. Okay, When you put this back in, this lip right here has got to go underneath this plate, like so, and then fit down like so. Now we're ready to put the main gear back in, but we need to lubricate the teeth on the main gear first. Now, lubricate the teeth on the crosswind ring. There we go. And oil the shaft where this is going to slide in. And let's slip it back in there, like that. Once that's done, we're ready to put our axle shaft back in. We're going to oil the axle shaft. And we're going to slide it back in. Oh, wait. Don't forget to put this guy back in. Okay, that's in. Slide this axle shaft in. Rotate it around a little bit. Okay, now we're ready. The flat side goes up so that it can fit into the crosswound block. Okay, there it goes. All the way in, just like that, so that the holes can line up. And then these screws are going to go in. Let's do them one at a time. Just want to get it started before I start on the other one. Once you've done that, go ahead and tighten it down. Remember, just snug it. You do not need to crank these down. Now, before we forget, let's go ahead, put a little bit of grease right here, and let's put this shim back on that we took off. Like that. Now, have any of you noticed what I've done wrong? Come on, you can say it. Got to put the rotor on before you do this. Pull the axle shaft back out, and let's set the rotor back in place first. I'm going to go off camera a second so I can look down at this. Here we go. And basically, I was just getting it lined up, and it did not want to line up. Okay, we're going to put the nut back on. And once it lined up, it went right on. Now we can put our axle shaft back in. Make sure before you do, straighten your crosswind block up. And I gave this a spin, and remember I told you guys you gotta be careful about that? Well, that's why. As we're putting this back together, don't give it a spin because there is no backing this reel up. All right, once you've got your rotor on, you need to make sure to put this locking plate back on. Should be able to line it up with one of these holes, and I was able to do so. And this one's very adjustable, so it's pretty nice. I like that design. Okay, with that done, ready to come back here and slide your axle shaft back in. There we go, line up your holes. And with your holes lined up, you should, at that point, be able to put your screw back in. Now, I'm sure somebody out there is going to bounce in here and ask me a question that says, hey, what's the difference between the Penn Pursuit 2 and the Penn Pursuit 3? I could not tell you. There's other videos out there who can tell you. I'm not one of them. Could I have probably gone out and fished this? I have no doubt that I could have taken this reel right out of the box, even 8 years later, and fished it with no problems. But one, I wanted to show you guys what things look like inside, and two, I wanted to make sure it was well lubricated. The more you take care of a reel, the better off it's going to be. All right, there goes the cover back on. Put your 4 screws back in. All right. There was a little bit of grease on here, but it had dried up, so I scrubbed it off. And now we got new grease going on. Slide that in. Let's crank it down. And again, this is a reversible handle. You can use it on either side of this reel. That is a nice reel. All right. That brings us over to our spool and taking it apart real quick. And I don't know what, I think that the Penn Pursuit 2, I think they went to an upgraded drag washer system. I'm not positive of that, but that's what I seem to recall. Being the case. Okay, we're going to slide the spring out. Be careful not to let it fly. And we're going to hook the drag washer stack out. All right, now the drag washers that are in this are felt. Now, does that mean they're inferior? No. Felt drag washers work just fine as long as they're properly lubricated and taken care of. Granted, you get a big enough fish on, it's probably going to damage them. All right, so let's take a look. We got a keyed washer, eared washer, keyed washer, eared washer, keyed washer, and then one over here. Okay, so what we have here is a 10 drag washer stack. Now, how do they work? Very simple. Put the first one in, drag washer. Now, this one is almost completely dry. So you want to oil your felt drag washers. Then in goes your keyed washer. Then in goes another drag washer. Oil it. Put in an eared washer. Make sure that the little tabs on each side go into the slots on each side of it. Put in the next one. In goes another keyed washer. Another felt washer. In goes the last of the eared washers. Another felt washer. And the last keyed washer. Okay, and then we're going to put the spring clip back in. There you go. Those are all reinstalled. Okay, what do we got down here? We got nothing there. We have a Teflon washer down here, so that doesn't require lubrication. So when you go to put this, but however, we do have our clicker right here. So we're going to go ahead and put a drop of oil on our clicker, just to make sure that it's properly lubricated, because I see a lot of these get damaged due to sitting. And right here on this sleeve where the grease was all dried up, we're gonna put a small amount of grease and slide this back in. Now when you go to put this in, all those keyed washers are not aligned. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna just sit it like this and then just slowly rotate it, and they're gonna fall back into place like that. Okay, there we go. They're all lined up. We're going to put the drag knob back on. Oh, that's really tight. Let's back it off some. That's still really tight. There we go. still awful tight. There we go. Very nice. Okay, things that we still have not done. We haven't lubricated our bale. Drop oil under the head. Lubricate your roller assembly. Lubricate the other side of the bale. Put some oil under the screw. Exercise it to work the oil in. And there you have it. The Penn Pursuit. Okay, I had made it all the way into editing and I realized that I had not shown you guys how to do the bale on this. So let's go ahead and do the bale. This side over here is most likely just going to be a pivot point. But we're going to verify that, make sure. There we go. Okay, it's just a pivot point. It does have grease in it. They've greased it from the factory. So we'll clean that out and put some new grease in there. Okay, let's get over to this side. And let's take this off. Lift that out. Okay, on this side, this is where our spring is located. All right, let's see. All right, now that pin had rotated around. This is one that will shoot on you if you're not careful. So I, again, am going to tell, I know that everybody out there doesn't have a perfectly pristine version of this Penn Pursuit like I do here. Okay, so sometimes they've been sanded and everything else. And so they're going to have to do something with it. Well, this is one of those where we get an opportunity to see what it's supposed to look like. All right, this looks really nice inside. All right, but if you aren't careful with this spring, it will take off on you. Okay, so there's the spring. That pin right there, let me show you how that's going to work. See this notch right here, or hole? This pin is going to fit into that hole when we put this back together. All right. The other part of this is this rod right here, and this rod is what trips our bale. All right, so we're going to clean this real quick. We're going to slide the trip arm back in, like so. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and take this assembly apart on the bale to make this easier. It's very difficult to put this together when you're fighting the bale spring itself, the bale wire itself. Okay, so here's how these pieces go together. Okay, we've got this plastic washer. We have this screw. They're going to go through there, and those are going to line up just like that with the plastic part on that side. And we have a washer, and it goes on this side, I believe. We're going to find out. One of the things that I did find when I opened this up is a full schematic for how this goes together, so that in the event that I got something a little bit messed up, all the parts are here to show me. Okay, the only part that goes on the other side is the screw. Okay, so the screw goes on the inside, on this side, right here. Screw's gonna go on this side, right here like that. Then it's gonna go this little tiny washer here, then the plastic washer, then the roller, then the rest of this, okay? But in the meantime, we've got to put this back together with this off. So now, that's like this. Okay, I think the easy way to do this is going to be take the spring out like so. I'm going to lay this down so you can see it adequately. This is going to go on here like so, and we're going to take this pin and put it into that hole. Then we're going to set this back in place over here, or at least that's the plan. Let's put a little bit of grease in the spring hole to help hold it in place. As a matter of fact, we'll even take the spring off of it for the moment. Stick this on there so that it'll stay, see? Like that. And once this pivots past a certain point, it jams up. There we go. Okay. It's going to go down in the hole like so. All right. And then it goes up as far as it can, like so. We're going to put our plastic pin back into here. And rotate this around again. It's done jammed up on me one more time. Okay. Okay, here we go. That's got the sleeve in, got that part in. Now we're going to put our screw in, like so. Okay. Now we're going to hook the spring up under the end of that black plastic piece. Slide it up. Once we've done that, we're going to take, I'm going to use a screwdriver, I think, to make this easier. Like so. We're going to slide the spring down and get it to drop back into the hole. There it goes in. Like so. Okay, now, see how that operates? Like so, and back. Okay, don't do that too many times with the cover off. Okay, set the cover back in place. Well, that, hey, when you're working on this, that anti-reverse is not fun. That instant locking, it just moves a little bit and it locks right wherever you move it to. Okay, there we go. Now, let's bring this back. And we're going to set this side over here, like so. And we'll put that screw back in. This last piece over, set it in place. There's our roller and our sleeve. And our plastic washer goes here. Then goes the screw through this side over here. Once we have that there, we've got this tiny little bitty shim washer. And I mean, it's fine. I'll put it on. Like so. And all of this goes back together, like so. There we go. I hope I never have to do that again. So, bails is not a lot of fun. No bails are fun. They are a little difficult. We're going to re-lube it since we've had it all apart again. Lube the rollers. Exercise it again. There we go. But I'm looking forward to taking this reel fishing tomorrow. And hopefully when I come back, next video will be a fishing report video showing you how things went. And of course, if I didn't do well, I probably won't shoot a video of it. So there you go. For now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.